Hey guys, and welcome to today's video on entry pathing and crosshair priority, which will be the next video in my series called The Fundamentals of Counter-Strike, where I take some core concepts of the game, explain what these terms mean, and explore the times in which they become most prevalent. These two concepts of entry pathing and crosshair priority most commonly appear in tandem within a team's drilled terrorist execute, and are often neglected outside of the top level. Entry pathing is what it says on the tin, and will dictate where the first 2 to 3 players in an execute will be running. How the pathing is chosen varies from execute to execute, but almost exclusively you're going to want the first 2 players to stay very close together to maximise their trade potential. Now I can't actually remember if crosshair priority is a term I picked up from somewhere else or coined myself, but to explain what it is, crosshair priority is where the entry players will prioritise aiming when entering a bomb site, and sometimes they'll neglect certain areas because you simply don't have time to clear every spot. Perhaps you're about to expose yourself to 2 spots at the same time and are forced to choose where you're going to aim at. Hopefully in this video we can look at some examples of both and you guys can get a better feel for when they're in play. The first execute we're going to have a look at is from a match played well over a year ago at ESL1 New York 2017, and I'm fairly sure FaZe copied this execute from a Charlotte earlier that year. Regardless, let's take a look at this early to mid round overpass B execute from above and see the routes that the entry players are taking, who in this case will be Karrigan and Olofmeister. Rounding short on their teammates' flashes, the pair of them run straight through the bridge smoke and pick off Sanis, who is forced forward by the mollies. At first glance you may be surprised they're willing to risk running through a smoke, but let's have a quick think about how the heaven smoke and the 2 mollies either side of back bridge by Graffiti make this play viable. When the pair of them come through the smoke, the only 2 places they have to worry about is someone playing in front of the mollies, as standard here, a player hiding in water behind the site, and now watching on board with Olof you can see the instant Stan is killed, he switches his focus onto clearing out water. So as this example shows, entry path is chosen very much with the utility of the execute in mind, because in this case had the mollies not been there, then a CT playing either side would have had a great opportunity to get 1 if not 2 kills and stay alive. Now I'm going to gloss over why this exact execute is particularly hard to play against and counter, but is certainly worthy of a video in its own right. Moving on, this next clip is going to seem eerily similar considering the round we just watched, but has a distinct difference in entry path. This round was played at DreamHack Marseille in the spring of 2018 and is another overpass B execute from Astralis, which involves all of the same smokes and mollies, and the only differences in utility compared against the execute from FaZe will be in the entry flashes. Now, because it's a nightmare to get a good overview of this site, let's first watch this round with the map overview, and follow the pathing that the Astralis players are taking. As you can see, instead of going through the bridge smoke, they're instead going round the right side of the pillar, wrapping towards water to clear out the back of the site. Next up we'll watch on board with Glaive, who is the first man in. Notice that as he comes out of short, Glaive is only worrying about clearing the right side because the bridge smoke is covering his behind, before checking toxic and close water. On this round, Glaive manages to find 2 clean entries, but because of the grouping of the entry players and how they can clear the positions one at a time, this meant that CTs were very likely to be traded out regardless. Comparing this execute to the previous one from FaZe, it's obvious that in these executes the entry pathing was predetermined, and also that the pathing can be varied with very similar utility for different effects. Next up we're going to look at a great example for crosshair priority. Now for this one I was going to use an execute from Mousebots from early 2018, but I couldn't find the exact round I wanted, so instead I'm going to steal one from a Sean Gares video on a very similar execute from Gambit during their major winning run. In Sean's video he covers the entry pathing and crosshair priority and talks much more about the execute in general. If you want to see this round broken down in much more detail, I'll link that in the description below. What we're going to be watching is an early round execute out Pop Dog on train, where connector and back green will be smoked off. However, since the entries come out explosively on flashes, the beat out counter nades, there are a lot of angles for them to worry about. The pathing of Hobbit and Dosia in this case will be along the right wall all the way to bomb train. First watching on board with the entry in Hobbit, let's follow his crosshair as he comes out of Pop Dog. Notice he comes out pre-aiming right bomb, and stays fixed on it before having to quickly turn and kill the player on top green. Now, there were plenty of spots that Hobbit neglected there by choosing to stay posted on bomb train, but the one we're going to focus on is E-Box. E-Box is a fairly common position at the top level. The question you may ask yourself is why did Hobbit not clear it? The main reason is because of how close Hobbit and Dossier are as they run out. If there was a player E-Box, because of how fast Hobbit is running, it's going to be basically impossible for the CT to kill Hobbit without getting immediately traded onto by Dossier. Since E-Box is a very tradable spot, Hobbit prioritises holding the back of Bomb Train, since that is a position that's much more difficult to trade onto, because the CT will be able to get a kill then fall back behind the Bomb Train. Watching again from Dossier's perspective, we can see that in this round it's actually a Dren that kills the E-Box player, but I can assure you that Dossier would have found the trade regardless because of their trade potential. Just to quickly look at another example of a player focusing on a position that's harder to trade out, here is a clip from Dupree that I used in a previous video. Notice that Dupree comes out only aiming at the left side of CT. The main spot that Dupree neglected here was default, which just like E-Box and Train is a common position for the CT to be playing. Again, in this scenario the second player will likely trade onto a default player, whereas a CT playing around the ticket box stands a considerably better chance of getting a kill and staying alive, which is why Dupree prioritised holding this position. For our final clip, we're going to look into an example of an execute lacking cohesive entry pathing and see the negative results that this brings. Here we're going to watch an early round explosive execute out of ramp on Mirage. To kick off with, we'll watch the first player out and look at his pathing. As you can see, Mason runs to the left side of default and loses a duel versus the site anchor, who had moved to the right side of CT. The question you should be asking yourself though is why the CT player wasn't traded onto and is allowed to fall back. To answer this, we need to watch on board with the second man in. As you can see, Nigel runs to the right side of default, focusing towards the push throughs of the jungle and stair smoke, being in no position to find the trade kill. The thing here is that running to the left side or the right side of default are both viable options for the entries, with a massive caveat that the first two players need to go in the same direction. Because the entries are not on the same page in this example, the CT was given a chance to take a favourable 1 versus 1 and then fall back, which is the ideal situation for the counter-terrorists given they were playing a retake A setup. Alright guys, that's everything for today's short video on entry pathing and crosshair priority, and I hope some of you have gained some insight into how these two concepts manifest at the top level. Anyways, thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.